This is a new show, a brand new show with a new person, one new person. So if you've seen our show, Movie Therapy, you've known that here at FauxPop and NorthStar, we are a big fan of Star Wars. And the man sitting beside me that is being very silent.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
Is a huge Star Wars fan. Would rival me. Actually, I guess you, from your reputation that I've heard, is probably a bigger Star Wars fan than me.
I grew up with it, so it's somewhat of an obsession, for sure.
And I'm still growing up with it.
Yes, yes.
As
am I.
Yeah, you're still young.
Yeah, sort of.
So you're older than me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give some things away about age just because of the movies and stuff that we'll talk about. Anyways.
So we thought if we do a podcast about Star Wars.
Of course.
So here is our first episode where we're going to be talking about, throughout this series, we're going to be talking about different things to do with Star Wars. And I think to start off, we should start off with how we started off. Start off.
Yeah, we're just breaking the ice, just grabbing our power converters.
So I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old you were when the Star Wars movies comes out. And it might be not a good question for me to ask, so I'm not going to ask that. I'm just going to ask you, when you were growing up with Star Wars, can you tell me exactly how you found Star Wars and how was it growing up with it in your generation?
Yeah, it was so, I grew up with the original movies. I won't say exactly how old I am, you can guess. But yeah, so I didn't go and see A New Hope when it first came out originally, but it was re-released, I think I forget if it was before, I think it was before Return of the Jedi, then they re-released all the movies again. And so my parents took me to that because they had seen A New Hope and Empire when it came out, and they loved it, and so they just wanted me to be fans. And my mom will tell the story about I was sitting beside her in the theater, and when right away in A New Hope, when the Empire's boarding the Rebel ship and Vader walks on, and I guess I was just a little kid or whatever, and looking at that, and my eyes just popped out of my head and couldn't believe what was going on, and she sort of knew I was hooked and a fan from there. Another little funny story involving my mom and Darth Vader. I don't think they go together, but anyways, for Halloween one year I was Darth Vader, and we got pictures of it and stuff, and got this cheesy from back then. It was just like a plastic mask with a thin little
like the ones that
thing
are like
or whatever.
Wait,
yeah, like they crinkle when it was plastic.
So it was like, a little bit better than this.
Yeah, it was like shaped around or whatever, but it was like cheesy. And I had rubber boots on. I had a cape, black shirt, and I think jeans. And so my mom's walking me to school. I'm like 6 or 7 years old or something like that. And somebody would walk by, a neighbor, and they're like, "Hi, Lynn. Hey, Darth," and just keep walking. And so I guess we took a few steps, and I looked up at my mom, and I'm like, and I'm tiny, right? Yeah. And I'm like, they really think I'm Darth Vader. Like, they think I'm Darth Vader. And yeah, that's just like a cute memory my mom has of me being a little kid.
Oh, that's cute. So do you know what the Ewok line is?
No.
Have you ever seen the show How I Met Your Mother?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so in one episode...
I'm not a fan. Not a huge fan, but anyways.
I wasn't either for a while, and then I was forced to by someone.
Right, okay. Yeah, that happens.
Anyway, there's a thing that one of the characters says called the Ewok line, which is basically if you were a young child when you first saw Empire, you're under the Ewok line, which means you liked Ewoks because it reminded you of your stuffed animal.
Yeah.
But if you're older than that, you don't like them because you think they're stupid.
Right. I'm under the Ewok line. Like, I like Ewoks.
You like Ewok? Good.
Yeah.
Ewoks are good. This is an Ewok-friendly zone.
Yeah, so many people, I've heard so many critiques of Return of the Jedi because of the Ewoks, and I'm like, yeah, that's for another day. Anyways, but Return of the Jedi is amazing.
It was like all the original trilogies were amazing.
Yes.
I, contrary to you growing up with the original trilogy, I had the misfortune of growing up with the prequels.
Yeah, in the dark times. Yeah.
I had a strange upbringing with Star Wars. So when I was 5 years old, Revenge of the Sith came out.
All right.
So episode 3. I don't know why I'm retelling you that, because you obviously know.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. I think I know that one. I think I've heard of it. Anyway, my dad, when it first got released on DVD, he was a truck driver, and he came home one day, and he had a copy of it. Now, I don't remember how, I'm pretty sure he just bought it. I don't know why I mentioned truck driver.
Right.
But I just remember he came home one day with it, and I never heard of it before this. When I was that age, I was into Pokemon and stuff. And my dad's like, hey, let's watch this movie. So he put it in, and episode 3, which is the best of the prequels, which isn't saying much.
And how old were you?
I was 5.
Okay. That's
Came out in
still
2005.
parenting. Yeah.
So I like.
The end for a 5-year-old. Okay. Yeah.
And so I watched it, and I thought it was great. Obviously, my eyes were not open to a ridge tridge,
Right.
as some would say.
Everything that's going on. Yeah.
So I had so then after that, I watched all of them. But I had a weird thing where I watched the prequels first, and then I watched the original.
Right.
And one embarrassing moment and one moment that's really telling for Phantom Menace. As a kid, like a 5-year-old, who any moving pictures is entertaining for me.
I was curious, as like a little kid, what your impression of like those movies was, if it was totally like you love them, because I didn't mind Phantom Menace when I first saw it, but anyways, go ahead.
I heard a lot of people say that when they first watched it, they didn't mind it, and then after a while, it kind of sunk in.
Yeah,
And they went,
it's just
ugh.
Jar Jar. Anyways.
So I watched it. I watched 2, and then I watched 1. And 1 is so bad that even as a 5-year-old, who moving pictures should entertain me no matter what, I couldn't watch it.
Right.
I sat down there, my parents said, for like a couple minutes, and then I would jump around the room a little bit and play with my toys, and I'd go upstairs. Apparently I didn't even make it towards where they get off Naboo for the first time.
Right, and I could like the pod racer thing. I was wondering if as a little kid you like that, because I remember liking that scene and maybe thinking as a little kid, because it's like Annie, when he's just little. So maybe as a little kid you'd be like, oh, I can be a pod racer too, or something like that. Yeah.
No, and then I remember the embarrassing moment I had when I was a kid was I watched the original then, and I said to my dad at one point, I'm like, I don't like 4, 5, and 6. Now, at this point, I would only have seen a bit of 4.
Right.
And the reason I didn't like it at that moment was because, to me, prequels came out first. Like, I didn't know that episode 3 just came out when I first watched it.
Right.
So I thought it was way too different. I was like, it's like nothing like Star Wars.
Yes.
And then my dad told me about how it went in a weird order.
Yeah. Is this even a Star Wars movie?
Yeah. And then I watched it. Then I actually sat down and watched it. And then ever since, actually after that, Jedi was my favorite. And then probably about a couple years ago, Empire became my favorite. Just because I'm a teenager, and teenagers are supposed to be into darker things.
Right.
I guess.
That makes sense. Yes. Return of the Jedi was my favorite when I was a little kid, because like I was only like 5 or 6 when I went to the theater to watch A New Hope, and it was rad, but like I kind of don't remember the whole experience because I was so young, but I like fully remember, and same with Empire, but I fully remember watching Return of the Jedi and being like, oh my god, and Jabba and whatever, the last space scene was crazy. So that was my favorite for a while, and now I think like, Empire's amazing, obviously, but I think A New Hope just like slightly went it out for me. Yeah.
The one thing I'm wondering, just because I'm wondering if you're like a lot of people who think, like, if, for example, if someone came over, they'd never seen Star Wars before, they said, listen, we got all day, let's do a Star Wars marathon.
Yep.
Which all ones do you show them, and like how do you start it? Like
I start with A New Hope.
You start with A New Hope.
Yeah. That's how I don't even go back to the other ones. I start with A New Hope, and then I go in order 4, 5, 6, and then if they're still awake and into it, then I would say I would say, do you want to watch The Force Awakens or do you want to watch Rogue One? And obviously explain the thing with Rogue One, because at that point you can go ahead. Because like Force Awakens it's an interesting continuation, but it's a different, like the way you say, like the first movies definitely had a different look than the second series of movies. Like I feel like The Force Awakens, while it's trying it tried in a lot of ways to keep that original look, but there's just a difference after the time, right? Like,
which is also nice because that means all three of the trilogies have their own distinction.
Yeah, which makes sense totally too, right?
The one thing though, that I think with like how I would show it is I would do, just because I still like 3. I don't like 1 and 2.
Right.
But since 3 was the first one that I saw, I see it for like the cool parts of it.
3 is definitely, like you said, it's the best of the prequels for sure, by far. 2 is, oh my God. We'll talk about 2 one day.
2 is pretty unbearable.
When I'm angry, we'll talk about 2.
When I'm angry.
But so that's a good place to start too. I might end it early, right before Vader screams at the end.
Just pause it. Like, no, that's all you need.
Yeah,
But
we're done.
I'm torn because in my eyes, I think people should see 4, 5, 6, and then they should see 3, Rogue One, and then 7. The reason is because I want them to see 3 in Rogue One, but I don't. Actually, you know what? No, because I would maybe show them Rogue One first, because it doesn't harm anything. Like, it actually helps Vader look more badass.
Yes, it does. I sort of thought about that for a second. Yeah, just starting with Rogue One, but then, it's just because A New Hope is like the essence of it for me. So
I wouldn't have Episode 3 shown first because I think it would spoil things.
Yeah.
Because then people will be like, oh, I know, Of course.
Just the part of the reason I wouldn't do that is just because it fundamentally changes the way that I would see Vader.
Yeah.
Because like there's something about that mystique of him just being like enclosed in his suit or whatever, and like you get that brief look at an Empire or whatever when he's like that's a crazy part, but so I don't know, it just changes. Like if you saw 3, it would just change my image of Vader too much for the other ones too.
An interesting thing before we move on, because there is another section I want to talk to you about before we get to our character of the day.
Okay.
Did you know that in Episode 4, I don't know for the whole film, but I know for about like at least half the filming, they weren't planning on Darth Vader to look like that. They were planning on Darth Vader's suit to just be for space. So originally when he comes in, it was just supposed to be he just went outside. Then I think halfway through they decided on it.
Right. No, I didn't know that.
I'm sure someone will correct me and say, actually.
Right. Yes. Oh man, there's so many actuallys when it comes to Star Wars. Yeah.
But from my knowledge, that's what it was, because I watched
okay, cool.
a thing on it. Anyway, before
it is neat.
It's
neat when you learn about making the movie, though, how like adaptable they were, and there were a lot of things that like changed as they were filming it, and that's cool. It's such a big idea that it would still be evolving. You know, he had the vision, but it wasn't like it was like fully cemented or whatever. And that is, I don't know, it's just incredible to think about. Really. I
love seeing the concept art for Star Wars.
Yes.
Like there's a concept art for snowtroopers for Empire, and I love the look of it.
Well, and actually, like I think some of the troopers in I forget if it was Force Awakens or Rogue One. I think it was Force Awakens when they go to the base at the end, but had that like that concept art was basically what they tried to use exactly. I just like read that the other day actually. Yeah,
the snowtroopers did look like
like the really thin kind of eye slot or whatever, and to like
it's really
things are.
The two,
you know, the knobule things that they have that look awesome.
I like the idea someone's designing the armor and is like, I think we should add 2 knobs right here.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Put on some knobs.
Breathing, maybe? I don't know. Who cares?
Just like, I don't care, just put them on.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
There, it looks better. It's like whoever designed Darth Vader's suit. Like, why a cape? It's like, shut up. It looks cool. Why so much leather? Shh.
Yeah, it's weird too. Yeah, when you think about that, because like, what does the cape do? But it wouldn't have the same effect without the cape. Just need, not many people can pull off a cape like Vader can. But
I bet you could when you were a kid, though.
Yeah, I tried.
I
was, I was 6. When you're 6, people give you some, slack or whatever. Yeah.
So the one other thing, as since we were talking about growing up with Star Wars this episode, I am wondering, as a Star Wars fan, what all did you do, and how was public school and high school for you, being a Star Wars fan?
Right. It was like when I was young, my parents didn't buy me like tons of toys. I wasn't a kid. I had like a modest toy collection or whatever. But for some reason, I seemed to have tons of Star Wars stuff. Like I got tons of it. And I asked my parents after, or later as I was growing up, I forgot how it came about, but anyways, the story came out that they had gotten like a box of this stuff off a kid at a garage sale for like $100 or whatever. And I guess that box was like two birthdays and 2 Christmases worth of stuff. And there was so much. There was like a Death Star, there was like cardboard and you built it up like this. There was an AT-AT, there's snow speeders, like had a couple X-Wings, Millennium Falcon, like tons of figures. Like I still have a bunch of it. TIE fighters, Darth Vader TIE fighter and stuff.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was so rad. My dad, actually, this was wicked. When I was growing up, my dad, we had this attic in the one house and had the ceiling sort of like that or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I have all these spaceship things, and he hooks fishing wire. He built these bookshelves up the one side, and then he hooked fishing wire up it and all these hooks into the ceiling, and he screwed hooks into the top of the spaceships and stuff, the different toys, and I would put them away by hanging them up off the ceiling at night. You could like lower them right down when you wanted to get them or whatever, and so you'd like make it so it was like some different kind of like space battle going on or whatever at the end of the night and stuff. And
God, that'd be awesome.
It was rad. So yeah, I had tons of toys, and when we were little, you'd go over. An awesome thing about having a buddy going over to his house, and I never had Boba Fett's ship or whatever, right? That was something that was missing, so that was cool to go over, play with that. I remember some dude, J.D. Murray, had an Ewok village.
An Ewok village?
Yeah, that was pretty rad, and that was another thing I didn't have, so it was cool to you get your few figures together. I had a weird belt thing, a Chewy kind of belt that you could put figures on or whatever.
Yeah,
and
I've
stuff.
seen those.
So yeah, I'd get that all suited up, and you put the little guns in the little case for it or whatever, and at about grade 7 or 8, we just sort of moved on to different things or whatever. I don't remember Star Wars being a big part of high school. You'd reference it a lot or whatever, and you'd talk about it sometimes or whatever, but it wasn't a big thing because the movies were just sort of old by then or whatever, right? So, but people you knew who was a fan. Yeah.
So when I was a kid, there was a bunch of things that were those were the things you badly wanted. When you went to go, if you went to the store and your mom said you can get something, first thing you're doing is looking for blank set. What was that in your generation?
It was probably the Millennium Falcon, or I guess, and there's different scales of it. Initially it would have been the figures, right? Just having, and there's those sets of 6 or 12 that they had that were the standard dudes or whatever. I remember always bugging my parents that I needed more stormtroopers, and they didn't understand. And I was I can't have 2 stormtroopers. I want to set these guys up so they're having a battle, and they just didn't get it. I was forever trying to explain need more stormtroopers, and I loved the Scout Trooper. That thing was rad. I remember I went to, there's a place called Consumers Distributing. Old people will remember. You went and there was a big catalog, and they had all these crazy numbers, and you had to fill out. As a little kid, I'm doing paperwork on this little thing to give to a lady who's essentially working in a warehouse, and she just goes back and grabs the package wherever it is. But yeah, I got the Scout Trooper, the bike that blows up or whatever. That's awesome. Yeah, still got one piece of that thing somewhere, but I can't. You need all the pieces to put it together.
When I was a kid, the big thing I was into, I had a lot of action figures. I was a big fan of action figures.
Yes.
But my main thing was Lego. Lego was the biggest thing ever. And I remember every Christmas and all my birthdays, on my Christmas list would be 2 things: Jabba the Hutt's palace, because you could get they were this big, and you'd have the Rancor and the Rancor and everything, And then
I never had Jabba either. I never had that toy. That was an awesome toy too. But yes, I know.
There
That's
you go.
rad.
You can touch him for the first time.
Yeah, I had some buddies. I loved that you could like wiggle him like that too. The Rancor was another toy that it was like, I don't even think any of my friends had that, but that was like a sought after thing. That's awesome.
I had a Jabba the Hutt when I was a kid, and actually, it was a collector's one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't supposed to be played with, but you could still pose it in different ways.
Right.
And I got that, and I remember I'd play with that, and now looking back at it, it's like, shouldn't have opened it. Shouldn't have messed with it.
Should just left it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have Lego stuff a lot, or like maybe they did. My parents, as soon as they bought this thing, they never even thought. I'd be like, "Oh, can I have Boba Fett?" And they'd be like, "No, we got stuff for you. Don't worry."
Stuff for you.
Yeah.
I just that was my big thing, and then Slave One was one I always wanted, Boba Fett ship.
Yes.
But I remember I got scammed over real bad as a kid, because all I wanted, because I've always been a huge fan of Boba Fett, so I always wanted him in Lego form. It was like, to me, that there was two little people, like two figures that I badly wanted in Lego, and that was Tusken Raider, which ironically I went to go get a set for the set, and the first one I found was a Tusken Raider.
That's amazing.
But my whole childhood I was trying to find a Tusken Raider and Boba Fett, and one kid knew this and told me that he had a rare Boba Fett that was black. It was like his armor was all black, and I was like, that sounds cool. So so he's like, well, want to trade? I'm
Was
like,
it some G.I. Joe like Cobra dude or something like that?
oh, it was worse. So this guy was like, hey, I was like, let's do a trade. And he was like, yeah, and I badly wanted this thing. It was at the point where I didn't care. It's like I badly just wanted this one figure. So I gave him probably about 5 figures for this one, and he brought it in the next day, and it was a scuba diver with a gun. And I went, what is this?
Yeah,
and I got so angry. And then every day he'd tell me, oh yeah, I'll get you your stuff back. And I never ended up getting my stuff back.
Yeah, you got hosed.
I got hosed bad. And I was so upset. And then probably the year after.
It's a pre-internet host. There's all sorts of.
Oh yeah.
You got to be careful.
And then like a year after I quit playing with toys, I went to Walmart, and there was this one. And I was like, oh.
They got 10 of them sitting there.
And they're like, what? And we got lots of them. I'm like, that was not my favorite moment. The last big set I ever bought was I got an AT-AT, and it was one of the coolest things ever.
That was always like, I felt like that was one of my like most impressive toys. Like when dudes came over, they'd be like, oh my God, you've got one of these things or whatever. And,
you're like, yep, just.
Yeah, that's my metal dog. I got one.
Metal dog. My friend, I can mention his name, James. You know James?
Yep.
He, when we were kids, we actually went to Toys R Us one day. And we walked in, and I was with my mom, and he was with his mom. And he got the X-Wing, like Luke's X-Wing. And it was a lot of money. Like, I think it was like $100 and something bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so his mom was like, yeah, we can get that. And like a couple weeks earlier.
That's a good mom.
Yeah, a couple weeks earlier, I got already a set. So my mom's not gonna now spend $100 and some bucks on something stupid.
Right.
So there was 2 left. And I badly wanted it. I ended up getting a different Lego set. My mom, because I was crushed because I badly wanted this.
Right.
I forget what I ended up getting, but I remember I was just, I was like, I need this. Like, it wasn't even a want. I was like, I need this.
Man, when you're a kid too, there are those like certain items that it's just like, no, I've got to have this.
I have to have this.
I will literally roll around on the floor screaming in here. Like, it's gonna happen.
This will be war. This will be war. I think the only time I've ever done that and gotten away with it was I got.
Yeah, I would have got my ass. That wouldn't have worked.
It worked once for me. And it was because I don't know how much the set was. Again, when you're a kid, you don't really look at prices.
Right. No. You don't understand either way. Like $80, whatever.
It's numbers. Don't worry about it. Well, you know, Return of the Jedi, they attacked the base on Endor.
Yep.
They had that, and it came with like a little wicket. It came with an AT-ST, and Han Solo and Chewbacca and stuff like that.
I had an AT-ST too. Those are dope.
They were awesome, and I remember
the button that made them walk.
Yeah,
I think so.
I just remember having like whining for it, like worse than any kid has ever whined, and my mom just kind of went, whatever.
Yeah.
What? Just get off my back.
Need to shut you up.
So yeah, that was the only time it's ever worked for me. Usually, I would beg and whine, and my mom would just be like, "You're getting nothing now."
Yeah. Every once in a while, you gotta, throw a Hail Mary, see if it works.
But that was probably one of my proudest moments as a child, getting that. And then I remember one thing I did as a kid is I had a bunch of like I don't know what drawers and stuff, and like you know how they have the
the little cubby things or whatever where you've got
shelves. That's what, I don't know why I couldn't figure out the word shelf.
Right, brain fart. Brain fart.
But we had some shelves, so I remember all the big Lego sets. Even as a kid, I knew, I'm like, no way could I ever build this again. Like this is and I had my Endor base, I had my Darth Vader TIE Fighter, TIE Fighter, and I forget what the other two sets were on this shelving unit thing, and I put them on the shelves like for display.
And these are Lego or just
these were Lego.
Okay. Right.
So my friends would come over and they'd want to play with them, and I'm like, no, only I may touch these. Don't touch them.
Well, and Lego's like a different beast too, because it's literally like one of those little pieces gets like taken off and just
rude.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
I just remember then, even when then I moved houses, and my mom was like, just throw them in a box, and I'm like, no, I don't want to throw these in a box. These are my whole life. So I remember I made like padding for them, and I held that box. I was like, this is coming with me.
Yeah, I'm moving this.
Yeah, it's like no one else gets to touch this. And then I got back.
Very fragile on the side.
It's like, break this, you die. Just threatening everyone, like don't drop it.
Yeah. And I still have a bunch of toys, but they've gotten like beat up a lot over the years. So there's very few things that are in good condition, but it's cool to get them out still.
After my family is a big thing for, especially for Lego. Afterwards, save them and then just give them to your kids.
Right.
Because when you're a kid, it's always good to have giant buckets of Lego.
Yes, absolutely.
So I remember I gave a bunch of it. Well, I didn't know I gave a bunch of it to my cousins.
Right.
And then I remember I got it back.
Secret donation.
Yeah, I got it back, and I realized they're not Star Wars fans. They didn't get these sets and how don't
awesome
touch them there.
Yeah.
Like I had a Commander Cody that I always thought looked so cool. I was like, this is the dopest thing ever made.
Yeah.
And like the one leg was off, and both of his hands were gone. And I was like, oh no. So I fixed him, and now he's over there.
Yeah. Yeah, they never come together the same after that though. The guys that we had, we'd like, put a firecracker on them, or like we're into fires too. We'd like melt guys a little bit and stuff. There's a few deformed figures that I had, or like the family pet, right? The dog gets at it. I was just telling you, I had a Greedo that got chewed up by my dog. So it's funny too, like as a parent, like as a kid, those secret donations, you're like, oh my God, how could you do that? You betrayed me, you've given away my stuff.
It's like a personal stabbing.
As a parent, you're told, like on my side now, I'm like, yeah, of course, the secret donation makes so much sense. You haven't touched this in like a year or whatever, but then they do discover it and they're like, where did you put my
blah blah?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I remember the worst thing I think I ever did to, like, actually the way I lost Legos was every recess. Me and my buddy James, we'd bring a bunch of Legos and action figures and stuff. Well, actually, we would decide the day before whether you're bringing action figures or Lego. Mm-hmm. And if the other person was sick the day before, you'd just bring both. You'd like, it was like an organized thing, and like if you weren't prepared, you were done.
Yes, that is.
So we would then collect it.
He's away. Oh no! It's like panic.
We would then show up to school. And it was, looking back on it, it was kind of stupid because we did the same thing every day. But we would go to the sandbox, dig a hole. It was like the Scarlac.
Right.
And then we'd do like a big battle outside of it and throw people in the hole and stuff
amazing.
like that.
That's yes.
We lost so many people.
Yeah, that's the best way to, sometimes somebody in the hurry to get back in for recess, you play a little too long, you're trying to fill in the pit or whatever. And
I think also maybe the worst thing, and looking back on it, like, the best time for me when I was a kid was when it was snowing, because you'd put on all your gear. Me and my buddy would, And then you go outside, you get a stick, and you'd be like, we're like snow troopers now.
Right.
And you'd march around, and I remember doing that, and it also applied to the Lego thing and like the action figures thing.
See, for me, more that was the forest, because of
Yeah.
Endor and Return of the Jedi and that whole Ewok scene
Yeah,
and
that
stuff.
makes
We'd sort of
sense.
like go into the forest and be like, okay, we're on Endor.
We're on Endor.
Yeah.
I just remember doing that, and the worst thing, and you probably can relate to me on this one, the worst thing about growing up being a Star Wars fan is the person that wants to play with you that doesn't know Star Wars.
Oh.
So then you're like, hey, yeah, let's do this. And they're like, they pick up like a stormtrooper. They're like, hey, guys, you know, I'm a good guy. And you're like, no, they're bad guys.
See, and like nobody, I honestly can't remember a kid when I was growing up that just didn't know about it, that I actually hung out with, you know? Like, it was like everybody, like it was just a known thing. There was nobody that would like mistake a stormtrooper for being a good guy that I hung out with ever.
I wish I was your age.
Yeah, it was just like, it was common knowledge. It was like you knew the Santa Claus had a red suit, you knew Darth Vader had a black suit, right? You knew Obi-Wan gave Luke his lightsaber, and yeah, it's just.
I just remember it was like the worst thing for me. Like, me and my buddies would be sitting there,
That
someone
would
would
be
walk up
ridiculous.
and like pick up a droid, like Droidica, which were the shield droids.
Right.
And he would start like making like beeps and whistles and thinking it's R2D2.
Yeah.
And we would just be like, I don't want to ever talk to you
Oh,
again,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People expose themselves pretty quickly.
It's just like, oh, what are you? That was probably the worst thing for me growing up, was just seeing those people. And then like whenever we were playing, because there would always be big snowball fights when I was a kid.
Right.
So me and James would dress up, like we'd go completely in snow gear and go out and act like we were snow troopers. But we knew that, like, because when I was a kid, it was popular for nerdy people, but not for anyone else. So we would never tell anyone, because then they would either A, destroy the illusion for us, or destroy us. So
Right. It would be bad either way.
yeah, so we would just kind of ignore it. And I remember one time, one person, we told them about it. They're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then they did the same thing. They didn't really know what to do. And they kept saying something, and they said one thing. They got me and my buddy so annoyed. I don't remember what it was, but we were just like, never want to see that person again. We stopped playing with those people for a while.
Like line from Transformers or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like, no, man, no.
It's like, rebels roll out. It's like, no, that's not this.
So did you do that at school?
Yep.
All right. Side note: were you allowed to have snowball fights at school, or was
No.
that on the down low?
was
Okay.
on the down low.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say I grew up in the era. I remember being in like a few grades and being able to have a snowball fight, and then when it was like there was like a few years where it took to like wean us off like snowball fights, and it was like no, you can't do that anymore. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah. That was somebody in my generation put a giant rock in a snowball
that.
and I wrecked it for everyone.
The worst part is we did that so much. Like, it didn't, like, even though we were trying to get away with it, it didn't stop us from putting rocks in it. It actually had more people put rocks in it. Because it's like, if we get caught, we're going to be in trouble no matter what.
Yeah, that's when it
Gonna
gets
hit you.
serious. When you're picking them off the schoolyard in the gravel spot, and it just naturally gets worked in there.
It's like a shotgun after that.
Yeah, exactly.
It hurt like crazy. But I just remember that was like, those were the funnest days for us.
Right on.
I remember
that
one
sounds good.
time, like, and then a couple times when it was snowing, me and my buddy would hang out underneath the. We had like a weird deck thing for one of the classrooms, and you could go underneath it. So we'd go underneath there, and we'd be like, "This is like our hangout. We're like bounty hunters," and we would tell people, and then we basically begged people to hire us.
Right.
And then we would show up, and then we'd basically completely ignore all the rules of the snowball fight, and get in trouble. And it was just the funnest thing ever. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That and you didn't play? Did you play video games as a kid?
Yes, but they were like I had the Atari 2600 in my house when I was like.
Oh, so same thing as Xbox,
9.
basically, right?
It's very similar.
Yeah.
They're sort of pared down graphics and game concepts, and yeah, just sort of like two lines sort of firing lines at each other or something like that was a game. It'd be a box with a line coming out of it, firing a line at another box with a line coming out of it. But
That
it was
sounds
good
fun.
times. It was like surprisingly I describe it like that, but we played it. We thought it was fun.
You're like, this is the best thing ever.
Yes, yeah. It's this is great technology. It was the newest thing at the time. Yeah, and then Nintendo and stuff. But I was just actually before you were saying that, it's like I remember thinking because Star Wars should translate so well to games, but the first like Rogue Squadron was the first good Star Wars game that I remember playing for GameCube, and that was like I don't know how old I was, but I was like well into my teen years, if not 20. So it was just at a different time, right? It would have been like playing Rogue Squadron when I was like 8 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have slept for like a week. Would have been crazy. But
When I went to my grandma's, she had N64, Nintendo 64.
Yep.
And she had this
that was after
X-Wing
GameCube,
game
I think, right?
before.
It was before?
Yes.
Okay.
So she had that, and I would go over there and I'd play the X-Wing game whenever I could, because my brother wasn't a Star Wars fan, never's been a Star Wars fan. So he didn't want to watch me or play with me doing a Star Wars game. After that, I was GameCube, and I didn't really do much with it. There wasn't really a Star Wars game. I played a game actually called Ty. Like, the main character was a tiger named Ty, and that's the only reason I played it. And then
You imagined yourself as
I was
the
like, oh my
tiger?
God, I'm a tiger. And then Then I remember getting an Xbox 360, and
Yeah, that's a little different.
a little bit different. And I remember getting back to Lego. Lego Star Wars came out.
Yes. I love Lego Star Wars for the Xbox. Yes.
I got my brother, the only time my brother's ever done anything to do with Star Wars with me was one New Year's. I convinced him to play it with me. And we sat downstairs until all hour. It's probably only I think we stayed up till 12. But for a kid, that was
it
like.
just seemed like crazy.
Yeah. And we played
awesome.
Lego Star Wars, and we played actually. We tried to. We said we were gonna beat all of them. I think we maybe beat like 4 levels.
Right.
And we sat down there and we just chugged pop. And my brother said a joke that I will never forget. Right before the ball dropped on New Year's, he took a drink of root beer, I think it was, and then he set it down. We went upstairs, watched the ball drop, went back downstairs. We started playing. He took another sip and he said, I haven't drank this since last year. And I laughed so hard as a kid.
Right.
And I was like, that was like my favorite thing. And then also, I remember a game that came out that for my view was always for older people. Because my brother, who's 6 years older than me.
Battlefront?
Yeah, Battlefront.
Right.
I played it a couple times and I thought it was the best thing ever. And then a couple years ago, I think actually like last year, maybe. Yeah, I think it was last year. Star Wars Battlefront came out, like a new one. It was for Xbox One. I have an Xbox One, so I bought it immediately. And
PlayStation 4, it came out for it too. We had it for we had it at the school for a bit.
We're looking for a new host. We don't talk about PlayStation here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
And now they're releasing Battlefront 2, which is supposed to have like all the people from the new, because Battlefront
Awakens.
only had the original trilogy, and now the new one that's coming out is supposed to have the prequels and the new. What's the new one called? We need to come up with a
Force
name for it.
Awakens.
Yeah, but like, what's the trilogy called? We need to come up with a trilogy name. If it's prequels, would it be the sequel trilogy?
The originals, the prequels, and the
I guess sequels, wouldn't it be?
yeah, there's sequels.
Tridge. That doesn't sound as good as Ridge Tridge.
Tridgequils?
Tridgequils.
No, that doesn't. No.
So yeah,
We'll work on that.
Yeah, and then that's what's been coming out now, which I'm looking forward to getting. And since you do Video Game Club, I'm sure you'll be watching it.
Yep, we'll be picking up a copy of that when it becomes available. I might have used to sneak that home on the weekends sometimes or March break. And,
What happened to the game? I don't know. We lost it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
On a side note, guys, I spent up all last night.
Yeah,
playing this
I
game.
can control Darth Vader awesome now. Oh my god.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about growing up with Star Wars, or would you like to move on to our character of the day?
No, yeah, we can do. That's good, I think.
So each week we're gonna pick a new character, Oh, there looks like to be a delay. Nope. Okay, I'm just going crazy. Um, but each week we're gonna pick a new character. And it won't be like Luke or anything. It's gonna be people that you don't know a lot about. You don't know their story. You might if you're a huge Star Wars fan. So this week we're gonna do Greedo.
Yes.
So
for people that don't know, aren't sure, if you're not like a huge fan, Greedo is encountered fairly early on in A New Hope. He's a fairly major creature from one of the classic scenes from when Luke and Obi-Wan are in Mos Eisley in the cantina, in the bar, and they connect with Han and Chewie. They're looking for pilots, and so Greedo's, there's a whole bunch of different crazy monsters and things in there. It's one of the great sort of introductions to a bunch of the different monsters and characters from Star Wars, but Greedo has a major encounter with Han Solo in the scene there.
Quick question before we continue with this. Is it Eisley or Esley? Was it Mos Eisley or Eisley?
I call it Eisley, but I don't, Eisley.
It's probably Eisley.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds
Tomato.
Tomato.
Oh.
So Greedo, we had a graphic that came up. You probably saw that. So now you know what he looks like. He is Rodian.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
Rodian.
think that's how you'd say that.
Rodian, obviously.
It's a swamp planet.
It's a swamp planet?
Yeah.
I didn't do very much research on the planet. But creatively, he speaks Rodian.
Yep, there you go.
Very
that makes
creative.
sense.
So he's a bounty hunter, very fashionably dressed bounty hunter. We
Yes.
talked about that before this episode.
Yeah, they like their vests in Star
They
Wars.
do.
They do a lot of like vest work and like some details on their leather outfits.
Yeah, they like fake. They like pleather. They like the fake leather.
Yeah.
The really bright colors.
Yeah, fashion's still alive in a galaxy far, far away. They do their
Yeah.
thing still. Yeah.
I like the idea though that right before he went out to go hunt Han Solo, he's like, gonna put on this and then a vest over top of it
Yes.
because I look stylish.
Yes. Well, and even they have fashion, but they almost seem like Simpsons characters in that it's like their outfit is almost their outfit.
Yeah.
Like it's like jarring. Only when the movie changes do they like change the outfit that they're wearing,
Yeah.
sort of, or whatever.
Like this is my only. I guess Han Solo changes his jacket from no sleeves to sleeves, then back to no
Right.
sleeves.
Yes.
So he's the most. And I guess
Luke gets
yeah.
a pilot outfit.
Yeah, Luke changes. Luke's like a diva then. He like changes a lot.
He got diva in Return of the Jedi for sure.
He did.
With his black outfit. That's a little.
He's maybe he went goth.
Right.
He went
yes.
emo.
Yeah.
Near the end.
He did.
Yeah.
Actually.
He's like, he's a teenager. He's like, oh, father, I don't want to join
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Forget it, Dad. I'm not joining the family
Oh my
business.
He goes hangs out with his friends. Like, oh, my dad tried to get me to join the dark side again. Oh.
Yeah. So annoying. Can't stand the way he breathes. Oh God.
So yeah, Greedo.
Greedo. Right. Greedo.
Greedo is a bounty hunter who works mostly with the Hutt clan. The Hutt clan is a crime family.
Yep.
And you
Galaxy Crime Syndicate. Jabba.
Yeah.
That spice there.
Jabba.
Yeah. Good.
And
Yeah. We
then-
saw Jabba before in the episode.
Then sadly, because when I did this research, I was actually kind of upset to find this. He also worked with the Trade Federation.
Oh really?
Yes.
Okay. So he went on both sides. I didn't know that. What did
and-
he do for the Trade Federation?
I mean, I'm gonna get to that because, so the one thing I dislike about what the prequels did was they made the Clone Wars too close to the original trilogy.
Right.
Like, because where everyone in the original trilogy made it sound like it was like World War II for us, like it happened way long ago.
Yes.
No one really knows. Like, but it seems like everyone was now alive for the Clone Wars. Like Greedo, I started watching the Clone Wars, which is a cartoon,
Right.
for this episode because I thought I probably should know the stuff for that. Apparently, there's an episode where he's like a teenager, and he captures a princess or something like that,
Okay.
and he holds them hostage for the Trade Federation and then gets away. And I'm like, okay, I see that you guys wanted to make it look like he was a bigger threat, like a better bounty hunter, but it seems like it seems weird that he was around for the Clone Wars.
Yes. Well, and I guess, like, I thought I heard a thing that he was like there's a Rhodian in Phantom Menace that's like a little kid that hangs out with Annie while he's working on his pod racer, and when he does the race and stuff like that, he's hanging around, he does a celebration after and stuff, and then I thought I heard something that's supposed to be Greedo.
I found out about that
That's
because
weird.
there was...
Like, that's stuff that I don't like. That's forced.
Yeah.
Like, it's a galaxy. It's a giant galaxy. Like, honestly, he's still on Tatooine. I don't know.
I found out about that. I did some research into that because I wondered that. Because I found a thing that said Greedo, as a child, would pick fights, and he even picked a fight with...
Yeah, he fought with one of the kids or something like that.
Well, he fought with Anakin, apparently.
All right. Okay.
And I was like, what? And then all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, I don't remember that scene.
That scene got cut. I remember reading.
I found out that kid that we see isn't Greedo. All of Greedo's scenes were cut out.
Oh, okay. So that's just a random Rhodian then. Okay.
So it's good that even George Lucas went, okay, guys, this is a little stupid.
Yeah, we don't have to try to connect every dot all the time.
It's
like
a
even
big
the
universe.
Anakin built C-3PO, like whatever.
He got angry because he was like, oh, you
So I don't
cheated.
think one thing, like in Greedo's scene, he makes a short-lived, like where I guess we're not spoiling anything, saying that he gets shot and he's
gets
in a
shot
short
in the beginning.
scene and he dies or whatever. But I don't think he gets any credit for like finding Han.
No, he doesn't.
Like there's all these bounty hunters after him or whatever, supposedly, and whatever. He talks, Han goes and talks to Jabba after, so I guess maybe Jabba gives him a little more time or whatever, but like he was the bounty hunter, like people were after Han Solo. He's the guy that identified him, or I found where he was, before any of the other guys that we see the Empire working with after. Who knows who Jabba had working for him or whatever, but I mean, that's something.
If we go to the special editions, which I would like to not mention on this show, but I guess we can. In the special editions, when he goes to meet Jabba the Hutt, they added Boba Fett in there.
Yes, they did. Yes,
so I just want to know, it all depends on if Jabba, because I'm guessing Boba Fett must have found his ship and then called Jabba. Because I don't think Jabba was just on Tatooine slugging around.
Right. No, I wouldn't think so.
But maybe he was. Maybe he was walking like his steel dog. And he came across and goes, looks like the Millennium Falcon. He's like, hey, Bubba, is that the Millennium Falcon? He goes, yeah. Let's go wait there for a bit. Maybe that happened. But it's if you go with the original.
Well, but he could have just known he was there because of like a shipment or something like that. Maybe just drop something off or whatever too, right?
Like, hey.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, yeah, that's true too.
Also, if we're going to talk about that scene, which we should, about the whole Greedo shooting and stuff like that. Greedo is supposed to be a good bounty hunter, but like I find that's weird that every time there's a bounty hunter in the original trilogy, they say, well, he was a great bounty hunter. It's like, how easy is it to be a bounty hunter if everyone's a great bounty hunter? But also, especially if I'm not a bounty hunter,
well, there's probably small little dudes. Like there's probably guys. There was like bounty hunters on like Alderaan that like didn't make enough money to have a spaceship. You know what I mean? And just like worked locally on the planet. They were trying to like save up for a Y-wing or something like that. They're
got his neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the Crime Stoppers version of that.
Yes, exactly. There's still small timers. Like anyone with a spaceship, you got to figure is like pretty big time in the Star Wars galaxy. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of that's definitely another level that you're on, and think it'd be expensive to maintain and everything like that or whatever.
So do you know who Forlom is? So in Empire, when the 6 bounty hunters come up, there's a bounty hunter that has C-3PO's body and a bug head, basically.
Yep. Yeah. I know what you mean. The big black eyes and stuff. Yeah.
I've seen the trilogy once or twice. And I've seen how C-3PO moves around. And I've seen how that guy stands. So it looks like he walks exactly like C-3PO.
Right.
I don't think, I'm not saying I'd be the best person in Star Wars, but I think I can maybe survive him.
Well, you haven't seen him in action, though. You never know. Some of these guys, if they're just standing around, like, of course, they're going to look chill. They probably got a bunch of whatever, bounty hunter tricks.
Yeah, maybe he just, like, brings out, like, rollerblades and...
Yeah, they're just hard. They have a hardcore image because, like Boba Fett's the only guy that he, like, basically orders Vader around a bit in Empire.
Yeah, he's the only person that can say to Vader, hey, you done wrong to me, and
he's
Vader
like,
doesn't kill him.
Yeah, he's like, I can't have him dead. And Vader's like, we'll compensate you if he dies. He's not like, we'll, like, you know, shut up.
You.
Yeah, random bounty hunter. He's like, oh, hey, calm down. I don't want you mad. Like, that's
I now want to see
So the bounty hunters are probably scary. You'd think they'd be scary.
Yeah,
Like,
I now want to see them redo the scene where Darth Vader gets annoyed. Where he's like, "Oh, stupid bounty hunters! Would you talk to me about?"
That would be that would be amazing. Some of those little side scenes where he's like complaining to like some of the officers or like stormtrooper guys that he like likes to hang out with.
Yeah.
Like, can you believe he talked to me that way?
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna bring this up with the Emperor.
Yes,
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, the next board meeting. We're gonna discuss our use of uppity bounty hunters.
I like the idea though that like when Boba Fett dies, Darth Vader's at a meeting. He finally gained up the courage. Is like, we gotta deal with this guy.
Right.
Oh, never mind. He's dead. We got it.
He's in the Sarlacc. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah, and then like with Greedo, he instead of just shooting him or doing anything, which I'm guessing a person that was hired to kill someone would do, he kind of walks up to him and says, "Hey, let's sit down and talk a bit."
Well, I'm guessing that that's not. I was gonna say maybe it'd be better if he was alive, like if he took Han alive or whatever. That would be better. So then maybe that's why he was trying to see, but he'd also want a better plan than confronting him in that CD bar than like, hopefully he'll come with me or whatever.
Yeah. But, asking him nicely.
Yeah, you're right. That's a little sloppy the way that was all pulled off there.
I just remember watching, like even as a kid, I was like, it seems like he could have done something better than that. I think maybe what happened was he was just sitting around at the bar, and all of a sudden his friend was like, "Is that Han Solo? Aren't you supposed to be hunting him?" And he's like, "Yeah, God, okay." Just walks up.
Just impromptu, kind of.
Come with me. Oh, damn it.
He does. He waits until Chewie's gone.
Yeah.
Chewie left. So
maybe everyone's scared of Chewie. Maybe that's why he's.
I wouldn't mess with Chewie, not at all.
Maybe, you know how they say Han shot first? Maybe Chewbacca was behind him and shot him instead.
Okay, we should talk about the Han shot first thing, because that's the biggest sort of notable legacy of this scene, and this character really is that whole supposed controversy.
If you don't know, if you don't know about this scene and you've been listening to this podcast, then you are a trooper.
Yes, thank you for sticking around.
So in the original movies, Greedo confronts Han in Mos Eisley, and basically says, "Hey, I'm going to collect your bounty," and stuff like that, because he has a bounty on his head because he's been not returning money to... He owes the Hutts money, which isn't a good thing to do. So...
he dropped a shipment.
Yes. So he sticks him up, and then Han pulls out unholsters his gun and shoots Greedo before he can shoot him.
Yeah, under the table they're at, so Greedo can't see. Han's acting all chill. He's got his arm up and he's trying to just be all relaxed, and then blast him.
Yeah. So that was how the original scene was, and then George Lucas, the man of brilliance, did one of his most brilliant moves and went back and changed everything, and thought maybe that people didn't like Han Solo and thought he was a little bit cold. So he changed it so Han doesn't shoot so Greedo shoots first, so it looks like Han is protecting himself.
Apparently, and I did read an article about this, and it said that George Lucas's official story is he wanted to just make it look more clear what happened, because there was like a petition started online after the new, like the remastered thing came out, and the adjustment that looked like Han didn't shoot first, and there was a petition to change it, and his response apparently was, "I just made it more clear, I didn't change anything," or whatever. So,
which if that is the story, I would understand that, but a man that kind of lately has been making a lot of decisions based on money, I think it would have been very good to go back and...
he's building a movie museum, eh? Do you know that?
He is?
Like a whole, like this super high-tech, like history of movie making museum. It looks like a spaceship. It's supposed to be rad. It'll be awesome.
I find that ironic for one reason. So there's, obviously with the special editions, people weren't happy. One of the people that George Lucas kind of screwed over, and he shouldn't have done this, even if you agree with the changes, this is not how we should have done this part. So the U.S. Whatever takes in a bunch of movies each year and puts it in a vault. And obviously,
Like
Star
the
Wars,
archive, like the
Yeah.
official archive thing or something.
and so basically, if your movie gets asked to be put in this, you give them original copy, like the theater version.
Right.
Anyway, so Star Wars obviously got asked to be in it.
Yep.
George Lucas gave them a special edition, and they said, no, we can't accept this. We need the original. Like, we need no changes. We need this exactly how it was shown originally and what all won the awards. George Lucas refused to give it to them, and still hasn't.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird. Well, hopefully they bought like the DVD set, could just throw it in there or whatever like that. Like, oh my god.
It's just strange. And then
That is
even
strange.
though they can make a lot of money from like making the original versions into Blu-rays and stuff like that, you can't even buy the original versions for for DVD.
Right.
At one point you could if you bought this box set, but what they did is because they found out a lot of people were taking laser discs and scanning them onto DVDs.
Right.
So they decided, we should make some money off this.
Yes, I remember laser discs.
So if you're a company and are going to release the originals, how would you do that? Like, how would you go about doing that? You just put them on DVDs, right?
Yeah.
They decided we'll just do what everyone else is doing, and they took a laser disc and copied it onto a DVD.
Yeah, that's so weird. God.
It's one of those things where it makes everything that I've done lazy. It seems like if I'm being called lazy, I should use that as an example of why I'm not.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I'm not burning laser discs.
Well, yeah, and at that stage in the game, like,
like the whole special edition versus regular we'll probably get onto about another time because I think I've talked about it way too much at the moment. But anyway,
so what do we like? Just as far as that, like Han shot first or didn't, does it like change things fundamentally for you or whatever? Like, is there? It to me, one aspect of this is it shows how deep Star Wars runs, just like culturally and just in the zeitgeist of things. Because like it's a small little scene. It's important as far as adding to Han's character, but like just the debate over what it means and the fallout of it and stuff. There's that much detail. It just shows how obsessed with this movie people are. Like,
I do appreciate it for that point. Like whenever someone brings it up, it's like, oh yeah, this is like an actual thing. But the one thing I don't like about it, and as a person that is like works in media perspective, as Star Wars is very much a hero's journey, it kind of destroys a lot of Han's arc of going from a smuggler that's like gets what he wants, doesn't care about anyone, to then being a hero and has kids and stuff like that. Because if he shot first, it would have really shown how cold-blooded he is, that he doesn't care.
Yes.
And by the end of it, the fact that he's now doing stuff for the good of people would have helped that arc be more refined instead of, he was always a good person in heart.
And that was the main argument that I like saw out there for as far as people talking about it. They're just like, this makes it way more sort of shocking or surprising at the end when he turns and becomes like someone who cares about the Rebel Alliance and that cause and everything. And I think that's part of it. But it's also too, I think you could make the argument, like I've been reading a lot of Westerns lately, and there's some of Han Solo's character that's supposed to be sort of the like, Lone Ranger, will like go it alone, will like take on, will just take on the wild west of the galaxy kind of thing. And so there's something that's very hardcore in Westerns. Even if he didn't shoot first, he risks getting shot. Like either way, he's like super hardcore,
chill.
right? Like it just like does what he has to. He handles business or whatever.
Yeah, he just snaps his neck going off to the side. Have you seen, in the new ones?
Yeah, so I think, I like it better if he just shoots first and just, you know what, I'm going to end this situation right here. But I still think there's a strong argument that you can make for even if he's responding, it still doesn't ruin the character or whatever kind of thing necessarily.
From a business perspective, I think what Disney and stuff like that should do is, even if they don't want to have Han shoot first, they should de-special edition it so it's, again, more fuzzy.
Right.
So then people can say, oh,
Yeah, it's
Han shot
ambiguous.
first.
Yes.
And then it even becomes more of a debate where people are like, well, I think Han shot first, or I
Yes.
think Greedo shot first. At least that way, everyone is happy because no one really knows.
I just hope I don't know. Like, I wish they would just come out with the definitive version of, like, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we consulted George Lucas, who went over, and anyone who was involved with the original project, we just decided this is, like, the final absolute cut or whatever kind of thing, right? Because just some new little tweak every, like, oh, we left this scene, like, half a second longer.
We wanted to add a little rock.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Like,
thought
there's
it was
more
cool,
asteroids in the asteroid field. We added 3.
We had 3.
Yeah.
Right there. See, you can count them.
Name them.
We named them.
Like,
That'd actually be a really cool thing to get, like you make a lot of money off that if you're Disney saying, hey, pay us, we'll name an asteroid off you.
right. Yes. You can be in the movie.
Yeah. To do the opposite, you know what they could do if they really want to make a crap ton of money? Just have 2 different versions. One where Greedo shoots first, one where Han shoots.
Yes. I actually heard the idea, like, in writing. It was a great idea that somebody writes a book and they have, like, 8 different endings, and they put it out there with all the different endings. And so then different people, if they're fans and it's like some mystery thing, they're like, oh, can you believe the ending? I can't believe it ended that way. And they're like, it didn't end that way. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is how it ended. And it's all like people would be arguing and they'd both be right and they'd get all confused. And then it'd be like, you know, different editions would be sought after as far as the ending and stuff. It's kind of a brilliant idea.
That would be
You need to have, like, a solid story, though, right? And like, definitely not all endings
They should
are
do
made
that.
equal. So
They should do that for The Last Jedi. All theaters have different endings.
that would be. Could you imagine, like, having 3 or 4, like, alternate endings? Like, people would freak out.
I
and
think the world
lose
would just
their mind.
stop.
Like,
it would literally just stop. Everyone would die.
the internet would certainly be overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, there's so much Last Jedi stuff. Like, anywhere out there. I guess. Well, I'm tuned into Star Wars stuff, but
Have you seen the new behind-the-scenes stuff they released?
I don't. I've honestly, like, I sort of cut off my intake of the media, like, fairly early. I watched, like, the first trailer that came out, and I basically have tried to ignore stuff since because I want to go in, like, fairly fresh. There's enough hints in that first trailer that you can piece together a lot of it, and I just want to see the rest fresh.
I see that. I see that pain. I see that. Like, I understand that. Me and Derek, the host of Movie Therapy, had this conversation a while ago because I went to saw a movie not too long ago, and I watched every trailer that came out. And the reason I do is for 2 reasons. A, I feel like if you watch all the trailers, ignoring the quality of the trailers, just ignoring what's all in them, I think you can tell if a movie's gonna be good or bad or not. Just showing what all they highlight. Like, for example, Suicide Squad, everyone thought the trailers would look great, but all they emphasized really was the music.
Right.
So it would turn in when you went to see it, it was like, oh, this is kind of crap. So, and also I like the hype. I really do like being with the hype, like hearing people go like, oh, I'm really excited to go see this. It's just, for me, it's part of it.
Yes.
It's like getting popcorn at a movie theater.
And I don't think there's any, like, wrong way. Like, I would never, you know, if somebody's watching everything, be like, oh, how can you do that or whatever, right? It's just different people like to enjoy it in different ways. So, yeah, I just starve myself, and then it's like, oh my God.
Then
Rogue One was so amazing too. Just have to say that.
We will have to do a whole episode on Rogue One.
Yeah, we have to do a whole episode just on Vader's scene in Rogue One.
Yes.
That scenes, I guess, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
So this has been episode 1 about how us growing up with Star Wars.
Yeah, how we became fans, and a little bit of Greedo. Han shot first.
Han shot first. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday. I think they're just coming out Wednesday. If this isn't Wednesday and I lied to you, I apologize for lying to you.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Also subscribe to NorthStar, FauxPop. Follow us on Twitter. Chat Compactor has a Twitter. FauxPop has a Twitter. FauxPop has a Twitter. I always mess that up. NorthStar has a Twitter. I have a Twitter. Do you have a Twitter?
I do, but it's not worth mentioning. I don't even know what my address is.
I'll put his personal Facebook down there and his cell phone number so you can message him.
Yeah, you'll want to do that. Yeah.
You'll thank me later. and subscribe. That's always a good thing. And then you can watch every episode of this. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you guys next week.